Gardens on talking to us. But they're busy out there. Lori and her staff do a great job, and they got a lot going on for the 4th of July weekend. So go out and check out Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens. If you just take the walk through the 5.5 acres, and I'm telling you that it's such a great place just to walk around. But not only do you walk around, but it's just, I dare you not to try to buy something. You're going to buy something all the time. So it's a great place to play. That's where we get all of our gardening stuff and everything for the garden Susan does is at Bob Wines. So I highly recommend Bob Wines Camellia Gardens. It's just an amazing place. 5.5 plus acres. Got every kind of plant you could think of, trees, statuary, stuff to, enhance your backyard or your zen area, whatever you want to do. And they'll even help you plan how to build and landscape your yard, and they'll come and plant the trees for you, guarantee them for, I believe it's up to 6 months if they plant them for you. So Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, go check them out. Or give them a call at 352-629-5766. It's Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens. People have been. I've gotten people to go, Tom, you don't understand how you're naive. They're not saying I don't understand. They say I'm naive to continue to think the court isn't objective. I mean, to think the court is objective and that it doesn't come down as conservative or liberal, depending on the individual justice. Well, you can say that all you want, but I'm not naive. I know that every human being has a way that they vote. I understand that. Justices have the same rights we do to go to the polling booth and vote. And they write, opinions, and then people declare whether those opinions are conservative or liberal. The justices never make a distinction between liberal and conservative. People around the justices make that distinction. The media makes that distinction. Politicians make that distinction. Individuals who disagree, who you may be liberal, and because you don't agree with the way a justice went, that makes them conservative, and vice versa. But I'm telling you, the justices are objective. Tom, not the way they write their opinions. That's how you interpret the opinions. Interpretation is what decides whether a justice is liberal or conservative. Because you don't know their voting record, because that's an individual private thing. Well, I know how they wrote their opinions, but how you interpreted that opinion is what shaped your belief in liberal or conservatism. Not what the justices wrote. It's the interpretation of what the individual justices write. We know Neil Gorsuch, if you interpret his writings, most people will say Neil Gorsuch is one of the most conservative justices on the court. Yet yesterday he wrote a scathing dissent of his other presumed conservative justices. Yeah, I did the air quotes there. When he disagreed with their ruling, 5-4 verdict against Indian sovereignty, Native American sovereignty, and the state's rights to prosecute non-Native Americans that commit crimes on Native American land. When the justices said the states do have the right to prosecute non-Native Americans that break law on Native American land. We don't prosecute non-English people. We don't prosecute Americans that break English law if they live in England. We don't prosecute Americans that break Mexican law if they live in Mexico. Mexico does, because it's a sovereign nation. And the treaties that we've signed through the Department of Interior, that Congress has backed and the President has signed, these treaties create sovereign Indian nations for these Native American groups. It is an infringement of their rights, in my opinion, to then tell them you can't prosecute this person that's not Native American, even though they broke the law and did a crime on your land. We get to prosecute them. And that's what Judge Gorsuch said. He disagreed with that. He thinks if you break law in an Indian territory, the Indian tribal judicial system gets to prosecute you. He was a dissenter, 5-4. He was one of the 4 that voted against it. How's he so conservative if he wrote a scathing rebuke? When you read his rebuke, it was not it wasn't worded to make sure his colleagues knew he was happy. But that shows, wait for it, folks, objectivity. We've lost sight of 2 things in this political climate we live in: objectivity and common sense. Say what you want about Donald Trump. Say you love him, you'll blindly go off a cliff for him like sheep, or say you hate him and would like to put him in front of a firing squad like a lot of people also want to do. Okay? But the one thing Donald Trump always said was use common sense. Now, you may not agree with what his definition of common sense is, but the man more than one time, numerous times, lots of times, referred to just use common sense. If we use common sense and objectivity, a lot of these little petty arguments we have about politics would go away. But we don't use objectivity or common sense. We use emotion. And that's where the problems arise. If you just look at things objectively, the right answer usually jumps out at you. If you use common sense, the right answer usually is right there in front of you. When you use passion and emotion, then you let your brain, or you let your emotions and your insides dictate what the correct answer is. And sometimes that correct answer, because of your agenda or your emotions, isn't the correct answer. It's just the correct answer you want. A lot of times the correct answer is not what anybody wants. It's just the correct answer. But when you let emotions get in, then the correct answer you choose is the correct answer that makes you feel good. And that's not a correct answer. That's just the answer you wanted. That's what we need to stop doing. Take emotion and agenda out of it. Use objectivity and common sense. The right answer is usually right there in front of you. People say, you know, Tom, I listen to your show and I don't like your show. I get aggravated with how you don't always, support Republicans like you're supposed to as a Republican. Then other people go, Tom, I don't like your show because you don't take the liberal side. You're so conservative and so Republican that it makes me sick. And I smile when people of both thought processes come up to me and say that. And believe me, folks, it happens on a regular basis. And I just smile, tell them thanks for listening. Now on the inside, I go, good job, Tom. You're doing it the right way. You got both sides aggravated. Because usually, when you talk about individual subjects, if both sides are a little unhappy with the correct answer, that's another indication the answer is probably right. Maybe if more people were objective and used common sense, we wouldn't have the regress and just utter disrespect for each other that it seems happens on a daily basis now. We'll take a break. We'll come back more after this timeout. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. This is WOCA, The Source.
If you're living with chronic joint pain in your knees, hips, lower back, and shoulders, I've got exciting news for you.
Emmett Smith, all-time rushing leader and Hall of Famer.
Now you can get relief from pain without harmful medications and surgery. Call my guys at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics specializes in biologic therapies that can repair and restore damaged tissue. I'm talking about natural pain treatments now available, not just for pro athletes, but to people like you.
At QC Kinetics, we're seeing patients every day who suffer from chronic joint pain but who desperately wanted to avoid surgery. We're treating joint pain with biologic therapies, regenerative solutions with long-lasting results.
Listen, it's all about getting your life back. Playing touch football with kids, walking upstairs pain-free, getting back on a job, and patients at QC Kinetics are raving about the results.
QC Kinetics. Call to learn more about restorative treatments that can get you back in the game.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
On the first and third Wednesday mornings each month at 9:05 a.m., Robert Colin with On Top of the World will be our guest as we learn all about the exciting lifestyle and new home choices available at Ocala's premier adult active community, On Top of the World. From time to time,